Well, with the return to the Champions League, you'd think maybe Arsenal would have shown a few nerves, but they in fact dismantled PSV with ease. I think looking ahead to the North London derby, it could be very easy just to brush this off as Arsenal played well, the nerves didn't get to them, they played their football, found their fluidity, 4-0 win. Let's look towards Sunday. But there were things about this performance I thought was really, really interesting, and I want to break it down here because Arsenal showed 3-4 different styles of play, a variation in the way they play to get the job done as efficiently as possible. Welcome back to Tactical Insight, everyone. Let's break it down. It's just me today, going to be with you for the next 10-15 minutes, looking at how Arsenal managed to beat this PSV side, who they struggled against last year. Remember, it was 1-0 at the Emirates, a Granit Xhaka goal from distance got us the win. Of course, it was Europa League football. We were alternating a lot more, in terms of the 11 and mixing the team up a bit. We then lost 2-0 away from home, so it's important that Arsenal weren't, let's say, looking ahead at the North London derby too early, because this isn't a team that we found particularly easy to get past last year. Now, we're going to start with the match stats as we always do. Arsenal had 18 shots to PSV's 12, 8 on target, with 4 on target for PSV, although a lot of those really didn't trouble David Raya. We all saw a lot of them was just him getting down to make it nice and comfortable with the catch. 59% possession for Arsenal to their 41% possession, 584 passes to their roughly 400, a field tilt of 61% and an XG of 2.53 for Arsenal. Incredibly dominant display, probably our best in terms of a complete 90 minutes, in terms of seeing the defensive resilience, good from set pieces, but also really fluid and exciting going forward as well. Let's have a look at the Arsenal 11 and some of the changes. So Kai Havertz came into the team for Fabio Vieira. Trossard technically came in because Martinelli actually started against Everton, but maintained his place, of course, with Martinelli with a slight hamstring tweak. And Jesus, actually, when you saw the 11, you thought, well, that doesn't seem a change, but we forget that actually this is his first start of the season. And any others, I think that's pretty much it. Raya kept his place after Everton, which was a little bit of a surprise. And this was clearly Arteta saying, we're in the Champions League. Get used to it. We're going to be playing a lot of football. We're going to be playing a lot of games. There is no heavy rotating. I think we were talking about whether the likes of maybe Tomiyasu might come in, whether he might do something different with Reece Nelson out wide, maybe change one of the centre-backs or whatever. But no, you've got to go full strength. Even talk about Rice maybe getting a little bit of a rest because he's played so much football. But, I think this was about getting the job done early and ensuring that Arsenal could then make the subs. We're going to talk about those subs later and why they were so brilliant. What I do want to show you, though, is how Arsenal in this game were really aggressive in the first half. This was sort of looking back to the Arsenal of last season where they were pressing really high up the pitch. Jesus, Trossard, I thought Havertz was brilliant on the press as well. And Arsenal were just suffocating them. Havertz and Odegaard were sort of picking their moments, when to go and press up against their defenders. If we just move PSV up the pitch slightly with Bakayoko Lang. If he would move, there we go. Let's get them up the pitch slightly. And they were picking their moments, whether one would go press with Jesus and the other would slot in, or Havertz would go press and Odegaard would slot in at times. But it was very instinctive, it was very kind of instructed. But I think more than anything, Arsenal were just being told, go play your football, go have your fun, go, put on a show here at the Emirates. But I think the big message as well was go get the job done early, because we do have Sunday to look ahead to. We do have to consider the fact that there's a massive game against a very informed Tottenham. And I think part of the instruction from Arteta was, let's get this one in the first half. And 3-0 up at half-time. And I think we had Cecil on the information station. I'm pretty sure he said around 15 to 20 minutes. Arsenal had 10 shots by that point already. We ended the game, as you saw from the match stats, with 18 shots in total, which shows you that a lot of the attention was about getting the job done in those first 20 minutes. On 26 minutes, Trossard puts us 2-0. Tight near the penalty area. Arsenal very good at probing, getting themselves into dangerous areas and ensuring that they were asking questions. And I do believe it all comes down to Arsenal just under instruction, needing to go out there and get the job done early. So that's the first, I think, style of play we saw Arsenal deploy. The first thing was go and be really aggressive, really high in the press, really inventive, really fluid. And actually it did mean that at times we looked a little open. It did mean that at times PSV were able to have a bit of joy. Noah Lang was one-on-one with White a few times. Bakayoko was up against Zinchenko a few times. And they were able to run. Declan Rice had to cover a lot of this area of the pitch by himself. But because we were just so superior as the team, it didn't matter too much. The defence did well to do the job, not be too troubled, ultimately not force PSV away from having any sort of good chances of good areas, and Arsenal could then go and play their football. But they did have to show a second element to their game. They showed a third as well. Let's start with the second, which was the counter-attack, and that was dropping into a shape at times. Because if I just show you this graphic here, it comes from Mark R Stats. PSV had 8 high turnovers in the game, funnily enough more than Arsenal, and I was talking about Arsenal pressing winning the game. But PSV did come to play. They did come to try and press us and play in our half, and like I said, have these one-on-one battles, Lang and White, and Arsenal did have to sometimes drop into a shape, but what they ensured was that Saka and Trossard were able to get up the pitch very quickly as well. And we saw that with the distribution from Raya. He wanted to get us from one end of the pitch to the other very, very quickly. His long balls were fantastic. I think 12 out of 17 he completed, a little bit more on David Raya later. But Arsenal did have to drop into a shape at times and just weather spells of PSV possession. So PSV did come to play, but I think that's partly why Arsenal had so much joy. In the Premier League, Arsenal have earned a lot of respect from oppositions who are sitting back, are really deep, really condensed. Look at Everton the other day. Even though they might have the energy and they might have the quality to cause us problems, they're so worried about what Arsenal might do. PSV didn't show us that same respect, and it hurt them because in this game, like I said, with the amount of high turnovers, the amount they were trying to press us, Arsenal, I think, respected PSV. I think respected that they had some quality, that they're 4 for 4 in their league, dropped into a decent shape, but were able to go the other way and score. And that goal from Trossard is a counter-attack goal. It is going from one end of the pitch to the other very efficiently. Saka on the ball, rolls it to Trossard, and what a brilliant finish. When people talk about Trossard being one of the best finishers in the squad, that is why. In fact, maybe the best, is because what feel like half chances against PSV and against Everton, he has turned into goals and pretty much, won us the game at Everton, and when he got that second, that pretty much killed the affair in this game as well. Now, Jesus had a massive impact. I thought he was brilliant on the day, dropping into spaces, as we've seen, that allowed Trossard and Saka to hug the touchline, but then come inside at times. I think by coming inside and ensuring that we had the numbers there, it also meant that Havertz and Ødegaard, who were doing their thing, could stay central, play in that sort of diamond shape, and sometimes it was Ben White coming out wide so Saka could pick up the spaces. And Arsenal were almost drifting away from the 3-2-5 at times. I mean, so often Zinchenko came inside, which we're used to seeing, but at times we're able also to just deal with the midfielders they have, because Jesus gave us that extra kind of possession in there, gave us that security, and White was happily overlapping and combining with Saka at times as well. But I thought Jesus was a very complete performance, very just wriggly and difficult. I compared him on full time to Luis Suarez, and I think Turkish looked at me a little bit like, that's a bit of a wild comparison. Let me get this right. Luis Suarez is one of the greatest of all time. I mean, in the Premier League, one of the best strikers we've seen. I love Luis Suarez, but in the way Jesus plays the game, in that he can turn from defenders, wriggle, into just tight areas. What was that chance where it kind of fell to him? And he sort of opened his body up and he feinted with the left, dragged it onto his right and forced a shot and a save from the goalkeeper. He's really good at turning small space into big opportunities and going into the touchlines and making things happen. I think Jesus was key to just linking everything up in the final third and ensuring that Trossard and Saka were able to have a lot of joy. What else are we going to talk about? We want to talk about Raya and Havertz in this game, who I thought were brilliant. In fact, you know what? No, we're not. We're going to talk about Jesus, as we've been talking about, and we're going to talk about his goal first. Because I mentioned Jesus being brilliant, and we see it here in this goal. Now, I mentioned 2 styles of football. I've mentioned the press, the fluidity, all that, the kind of stuff we saw Arsenal do last season. And I mentioned showing something on the counter-attack with the Trossard goal. Here, we see Arsenal do a little bit of long ball. We saw Arsenal going from one end of the pitch to the other very efficiently, and it's something that Man City have added to their game, especially with Erling Haaland up top. They've added that long ball, and Arsenal have started to do it a lot more, and we're seeing it really efficient in this game. Gabriel's got the ball. Here we go. And Trossard is actually quite a bit behind Teze here when he makes this run. But Gabriel spots that there's a load of space in behind. Trossard wants to attack it, and we go from one end of the pitch to the other so quickly. They're very condensed in the middle here, so we're not able to play through them. Look what Jesus says. He's come deep as well, like I mentioned. White is hugging the touchline, like I mentioned. So we were able to sort of try and stretch the pitch in wider areas. Let's get rid of that. And again, Jesus very deep here. So what we have, let's bring this back up, apologies, is... we'll slow it down a sec. Actually, let's bring it to about 0.8 speed. There we go. Gabriel goes with the long ball into Trossard, who makes a really good run in behind. Chasing the ball, drags it onto his left foot, like we saw against Fulham last season, and picks out Jesus at the back post, who takes a lovely touch before he finds the back of the net. But that long ball from Gabriel to Trossard it's really well executed. It's really well executed, and it's very efficient, and it's a third layer to this game and to Arsenal's style that we saw in this performance. Now, David Raya was a big part of the long ball and how successful it was. Here we've got every David Raya pass into Kai Havertz. I mean, I started noticing it towards the end of the game, especially when Havertz went up front. I thought, yep, we're probably going to see a lot of this. But we saw this all game. A lot of these passes came in the first half as well. And it was just about Raya finding Havertz in his 6'3" height to be able to get us in the game and get us earning territory in that final third. I thought Havertz did really, really well in the air. And actually, it wasn't just in the air. I thought on the ball he looked very sharp, and at times, just using his body to kind of be a battering ram and get Arsenal into play. He did that really, really well, Havertz. He put himself about and he pressed brilliantly. But David Raya's long ball is an absolute weapon for Arsenal. And this is just, by the way, the Havertz passes. This is the Raya-Havertz link-up. I'm not even showing you here the amount of times he picked out Bukayo Saka in these areas, the amount of cross-field passes he found. There was one brilliant ball out to Reece Nelson he picked as well. His long ball accuracy was superb. 12 out of 17 hit the target. And the thing is, I think that stat actually does a bit of a disservice to Raya, because when you watch the highlights and the comps that everyone have put out on social media, how many times did Raya hit the long ball? It maybe didn't hit the target he wanted, but he got the area and we picked up the second ball. And so Arsenal actually maintained possession in the final third because Raya got that accuracy and knew to hit an area where Arsenal had maybe a numerical advantage, were able to come away with the ball. He was really, really great, David Raya. And I think it was a level above Everton in terms of the distribution. He really showed us what he was about, even with his click passes out wide. But I think this Raya to Havertz link-up is something that Arteta's really going to look to get the most out of. And it's not just Havertz. I mean, look at the links to Ivan Toney. That doesn't feel like it's a coincidence, let's say, because David Raya had a lot of joy with the long ball to Ivan Toney as well. Let's end by just talking about the substitutions that Mikel Arteta got absolutely spot on. I think if you're looking at 4 players you want to save because they're crucial for the North London derby, I think you say, well, Zinchenko's one of them because he's had fitness issues. Declan Rice, because he's world class, in my opinion, and Partey's injured. Bukayo Saka, because he plays loads of football. Gabriel Jesus, because I think he's just our best pure footballer. And Leandro Trossard, because of the Martinelli injury, the form he's in, you probably want to look after him. Mikel Arteta got all his substitutions absolutely spot on. And who came on in their place? Tomiyasu at left back, getting important minutes. I thought he did really well, by the way. He inverted brilliantly and was able to help out there. We go along to, let's find Jorginho at some point. Well, Vieira, by the way, came on. I thought looked superb on the right-hand side. Havertz moved up top and I thought looked absolutely fine, did well in that area of the pitch. Smith Rowe said he was emotional, Arteta, when he saw the reception Smith Rowe got. The Arsenal fans love him. They absolutely love Smith Rowe. They want it to work for him. He came on and did brilliantly. Let's bring on Jorginho, who did his thing as well. He came on, kept everything ticking. And somewhere here, Reece Nelson came on as well. And you're looking at that and you're going, huh, there's depth. That is great depth. Timber missing, Partey missing, Martinelli missing. That is not bad, is it? Arsenal have built the depth. It's taken some time to do, but it means that we can, and Javi made a great point on full time on Fan Zone. Javi was saying, when you look at Pep Guardiola, he's able to give everyone the right minutes. So when it comes to the last part of the season where, you know, Haaland's been able to be taken off for 20-25 minutes in a game in October. De Bruyne has been taken off. Bernardo Silva's been taken off. Gundogan last season was taken off. These players were able to not play and save their, you know, conserve some energy in 20-30 minutes at the end of games. And so when it comes to the crunch part of the season, they've had the right amount of minutes going into those final 2 months where Arsenal actually looked leggy at the end of last year. And they actually did really, really well to manage their subs well. And it's not just a case of managing well in this game. Arteta's improved massively in the way he uses his subs. And while I'd love to make this point for myself, I think Turkish made it brilliantly on Fan Zone. Have a little look at this.
It's boding well because it's not only today his substitutions were spot on. He's been right pretty consistently this season, which is something he was criticised for last season.
No, you're right.
Vieira's come on twice and made a difference. Eddie's come on once and made a difference. Trossard's come on and bagged the winner. So this season there's multiple examples of Arteta learning, evolving in the substitution department.
I think that's a great point. I want to nick that for Tactical Insight tomorrow. Thank you very much. And I think Turkish is spot on there in what you've just heard. He's used the subs, whether it's to see out games or to try and change the tide really well. And we talk about Trossard in the last one. in the last tactical insight. Came on against Everton because it suited, the game state suited a Trossard, but didn't come on against Man United. In fact, we needed the pace and directness of Reece Nelson. Arteta is really learning how to use his subs, and I think in this game he got them absolutely spot on. By the way, do join us on Fan Zone. We run them twice a week and after games on top of that. So 4 times this week, your opportunity to have your say on AFTV. We really, really want you to get your calls in and let us know your thoughts on this. Let us know your thoughts on everything going on in the world of Arsenal. Download the AFTV Plus app and join us on Fan Zone. And that's pretty much everything, guys. Arsenal, largely you can just say, went and played their football, got the job done, they made a load of subs and saw it out nicely. I think there's a little bit more. I think Arsenal were happy to concede possession in moments, have lulls in the game where they were still focused, but not maybe showing the same intensity and aggression that they had in the first 20, 25 minutes where they got the game won really. And they were able just to manage it really well. This is an incredibly professional performance from Arsenal. I thought the subs did well when they came on. I haven't even mentioned Martin Odegaard, who for me was our man of the match. He was superb. But Arsenal got the job done. Now on to Tottenham, now on to the North London derby. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And we will see you the rest of this week for plenty of preview content going into the big North London derby. I cannot wait. See you then.